The last person to find out what looking at God did to Moses' face was Moses. He comes down off the mountain with his face glowing. Aaron sees it. The whole camp sees it. They're afraid to come near him, and he has no idea why. Ancient truth for the modern week. From the dusty roads of the first century to the high-speed life of the 21st, we're stripping away the tradition to find the heart of the story. I'm your host, Joe, and this is Monday to Sunday. Hey, I'm Joe Stein, and this is Monday to Sunday. Most of us go to church on Sunday, hear the readings, hear the sermon. Then Monday's routine kicks in, and Tuesday's work stress kicks in, and by Tuesday afternoon you couldn't tell me what the gospel was if I offered you money for it. That's not a failure on your part. Happens to all of us. That's just how a week works. In this show, we come back midweek and sit with those readings again, slower, so they have a chance to stick. See what else we can reflect on when we take it in, bit by bit. Usually on a Thursday that means going back to Sunday and digging somewhere new. On Tuesday we did that with Proper 13, with Jacob wrestling in the dust and a grieving Jesus feeding 5,000 people. And the point was that you don't have to be okay before you show up. Sometimes, showing up is all you need to do. Today's different, because today is a feast day. August 6th is the Transfiguration. It has its own readings. They've been on the calendar for centuries, and they're too good to skip. So set Sunday down for a second. Today, we are going to walk through the readings. Exodus 34, 2 Peter 1, and Luke 9. And the thread running through all three is one idea. What you look at is what you start to look like. Let that marinate for a minute. Let's start with Exodus. Moses has been up Sinai. He's been talking with God. Now he's coming down with the 2 tablets in his hands. And here's what the text says. Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone because he had been talking with God. He's got a face full of light and no idea. It took other people to tell him. And they don't tell him gently either. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, the skin of his face was shining, and they were afraid to come near him. They backed off. This man they'd known for years came down, changed, and it scared them. So Moses calls them over. He gives them everything God told him. And then he does this odd thing, which the reading spends 4 verses on because it's the practice that stuck. When Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he would take the veil off. Veil off in the presence of God. Veil on in the street. And this becomes his rhythm. Go in, uncover, talk, come out, shine, cover. Over and over. The shine isn't something Moses generated. He didn't work up to it. It's residue. It's what proximity does. He got close to God repeatedly, and his face carried the evidence. Now Luke 9, and the mountain everybody remembers. Jesus took with him Peter and John and James, and went up on the mountain to pray. And while he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became dazzling white. Moses and Elijah show up, law and prophets standing there talking with him, and Luke tells us what they were talking about, which the other Gospels don't. They were speaking of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Then Luke drops a line. I think it's the most human sentence in the whole scene. Now Peter and his companions were weighed down with sleep, but since they had stayed awake, they saw his glory. They almost missed it. They were tired. It had been a long climb. Their eyes were closing. The single most extraordinary thing any of them would ever see was happening about 10 feet away, and they were fighting to keep their heads up. They stayed awake. Barely. And because they stayed awake, they saw. Then Peter starts talking, and Luke, who clearly loves him, adds the editorial note. Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. And then, not knowing what he said. He wants to build something, pin it down, make the moment into infrastructure. And while he's still mid-sentence, the cloud rolls in and shuts him up. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my son, my chosen. Listen to him." Not build for him, not memorialize him, listen to him. Which brings me to the epistle, and the word I want to spend real time on. 2 Peter is written by an old man who knows he's near the end. I think it right, as long as I am in this body, to refresh your memory, since I know that my death will come soon. He's trying to leave people something that will hold after he's gone. And what he leaves them is this mountain. We did not follow cleverly devised myths when we made known to you the power and coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, but we had been eyewitnesses of his majesty. He was up there. He heard the voice. Decades later, it's still the thing he reaches for. Then verse 19. You will do well to be attentive to this as to a lamp shining in a dark place, until the day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts. Be attentive. The Greek is prosechō, from the verb prosechō. Break it apart. Pros means toward. Echo means to hold, or to have. So literally, to hold toward. To keep something turned in a direction. And in Older Greek, it's a sailing word. You prosechō a ship. You hold her toward the harbor. Not one grand heroic turn of the wheel, but constant small corrections, all night, because wind and current are always pushing you off, and the only way to arrive anywhere is to keep steering back. That's the word Peter picks for how you pay attention to God. Not think about this, not agree with this. Hold your course toward it, correcting constantly, because you will drift. Now let me bring this into the actual week you're living in, because this is where it gets uncomfortable for me. Here's what all 3 readings are quietly saying. Attention forms you. What you hold yourself toward is what you become. Moses looked at God, and his face changed, and he was the last to know. The disciples looked at Jesus on a mountain, and 40 years later an old man about to die was still describing the light. And you and I look at a phone. I'm not doing a lecture about screens. I'm on mine plenty. But I'd like us both to be honest about the arithmetic. Somewhere between 3 and 5 hours a day for most adults. We pick up the glowing light more than 100 times a day. That's not a moral failing. That's a machine built by very smart people to be exactly that good at holding your attention. And here's the part that connects to Moses. The change is invisible from the inside. Moses didn't know his face was shining. You don't feel yourself becoming more anxious. You don't notice your attention span shortening. You don't clock the moment your baseline resting emotion became low-grade outrage. Formation doesn't announce itself. It just accumulates. And one day somebody who loves you says something careful about how you've been lately, and you're the last to find out. We're all shining with something. The only question is what we've been looking at. So here's the practical part, and I want to keep it small enough to actually do. First, Peter and the others were weighed down with sleep, and they stayed awake anyway, and that's the entire reason they saw it at all. 5 more minutes of sleep and they'd have missed the whole thing. Glory doesn't usually arrive when you're rested and receptive. It arrives at the end of a long climb when your eyes are closing. So staying awake 5 more minutes is a spiritual act. Sometimes it's the whole spiritual act. And that's true off the mountain too. Most things worth seeing show up when you're too tired to look. Second, prosechō. Hold your course. You are going to drift. That's assumed in the word. The measure of a life turned toward God isn't that you never got pulled off, it's that you kept steering back. Every morning, sometimes every hour. The correction is the practice. Third, and this is the one I'd actually try this week. Put the veil on. Moses had a rhythm. Uncovered before God, covered in public. There were times he was available to everybody, and times he was not. And he protected the difference with a piece of cloth. We have no cloth. We are reachable at every hour by everyone, And the same rectangle that holds Scripture holds your work email and a stranger who is wrong about something. So build a veil. 10 minutes in the morning where the phone is in another room and something true is in front of you. The Gospel from Sunday. A Psalm. The collect for today, which asks that we be delivered from the disquietude of this world, and might as well have been written about a notification badge. 10 minutes. That's it. Not a program, but a direction we all can take. Peter says be attentive as to a lamp shining in a dark place, until the day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts. I love that he says the lamp is for the dark place. He isn't promising you daylight yet. He's telling you it's night, and you've been handed something small and burning, and your job is to hold it toward the thing you're trying to see. And that last phrase, the morning star rising in your hearts, not in the sky, not out there somewhere, in you. Which means the whole mountain is pointed at you. The light on Moses' face, the dazzling white, the voice in the cloud, all of it lands as, this can happen to your face too. Not because you climbed higher or prayed better, because you kept turning toward him. And proximity does what proximity does. The voice on that mountain gave exactly one instruction. Listen to him. That's the assignment. Everything else is detail. That's the feast of the Transfiguration. Exodus 34, 2 Peter 1, Luke 9. 10 minutes tomorrow. Phone in the other room. Hold your course. It's right in front of you. You will be the last to know it's working. That's how this has always gone. I'm Joe, and this has been Monday to Sunday. Thanks for walking this road with me. Now take this truth into your week, and I'll see you on the next chapter.